We're going to show you what's in the box. This is Race for Bastogne, the next game in the series of Grand Tactical System by Multiman, and we'll just open it right up. It's a hefty box, but there's a lot of counters, so this is nice. I hate plastic, but in this case, having this cushion the inside stuff is nice to have. The list of things you make sure you should have in the box, and for those of you who don't know the system, you definitely need these 4 10-sided dice, 2 colored and 2 white. Exclusive rules for Bastogne. Again, this is, some of you don't like glossy, then you need to avoid opening this GTS series because they are all, I'm pretty sure they're all glossy. Unlike some of the other systems that they have, Line of Battle and am I trying to, the not tactical, battalion combat series. They are not glossy books, but that's what they are. So you have to live with it if you don't like it. If you want to mark, that's the biggest thing. If you do want to mark on these, but I would just do a PDF. They're very good at having all their sets, scenarios, everything, exclusive rules, all on the MMP website. Well, Gamers website. Subdivision. It's a nice one. They, instead of wrapping all the counter sheets, they generally, oh, I should jump back just to double check. 7 scenarios. Is there more? I think that's it. 7. They have a nice color chart for setup on at least scenario 6. I don't know about others. That must be the one most involved. Some of the special rules, especially terrain. Every one of the GTS games have a little bit different issues with terrain. We'll get to the maps in a second. And it was, as I was saying, they like to put the counter sheets every other. These counters are sometimes can get a little bit separated, but they are hefty. It's a white core, and they're quite large. So even though they're large, though, some of the details are pretty hard to read. If you I zoom in on that, even on that, identifying that unit is pretty tough, I think. It's not necessarily friendly to colorblind because, I mean, it's great to have these bands for the distinctions between formations, but you definitely have to be able to see those colors. I'm assuming this is called a Wiltz map and must be for a smaller scenario, I bet. Terrain effects chart. It's always nice to match up. That's pretty good, actually. At least the forest is. Sometimes that doesn't happen in all games. This terrain effects chart player's aid is very, very close to what you get on these maps. That's very nice. Second counter sheet. More charts and tables. This is a very important CRT. You have to get used to that one. Another smaller section, scenario 2. That's kind of, I like that already. I'm hoping and I'm assuming that this is those first two maps you saw. They're very small, just 8 by 11, 8.5 by 11. You can do a whole scenario on that. At least get started if you're not familiar with the system. And the famous 2.0 rules. There's been a lot of discussion about as they added games and in the system, and the fact that the new rule set, the 2.0, wasn't necessarily compatible with the first games, and how you had to kind of rethink as you're playing. That's not always fun. Purple. Don't know what units those would be. More maps. This one is the west map, so unfold it. This has Bastogne on it. Not too huge. This would cover about 2/3 of a card table that way, so not too bad. Another counter sheet. The infamous division cards, where you're going to have to put command points, dispatch points. I do like the fact that they give you the actual photos of the commanders. There's the famous Anthony McAuliffe, and you know what he said to the surrender demands. It's 101st Airborne. Off-map display. This is interesting. Reinforcements, or maybe possibly moving units from block to block so they can come in at a different place. That's cool. Calendar, weather, insert. Lots of these, and that's all typical markers. Improve positions. Second terrain effects, good. More suppressed markers and cohesion. Sorry about the glare. I'm thinking this is going to be the other half of the map. This is east. It has Clairvaux. So you think of this, there's Wilts at the bottom. Think of this, again, it's more of a company type game. I mean, hence the Grand Tactical name, but just imagine this, the typical Bastogne map that you see on things like Normandy, or not Normandy, Bulge 44, or Ardennes 44, I should say. Some of those that cover the whole area, and now you're kind of telescoping in, zooming into a much smaller area, because these are companies we're talking about, so you'd have to have tables and tables to get that at that same scale. And the last double for charts and tables. So I like this too, the rule summary. I haven't looked at the new one, but it's good, especially what first doing this system and getting into it. It's I'm not going to. It's not the same as the battalion combat system. The similarity is going from more traditional hex and counter games to this system. Same as going to battalion combat system. It's quite a bit different, and you kind of have to wrap your head around a lot of the concepts before you get into it. And then once you do, it's a lot of fun to try things out. So that's what's in the box. A couple of small maps for some smaller scenarios, and then the two big east-west ones, which actually are not too big. This is one of those in-between games, in the sense that, I mean, if you're talking about Devil's Cauldron and Greatest Day, those puppies are, I mean, there's a lot of scenarios, but you can cover up a whole room with all the maps. So this is a little more manageable, and I'm just gonna get it ready and see what we can do with it in the next, I don't know, maybe in a week or so. We'll try one out. All right, we'll finish up Pacific War and then get on to this. Thanks for checking in.